why it's not doing anything. So Google Sheets released tables. I did a quick video on this at release, but I wanted to dive into the details of what makes this any different, if at all, from what we already had in Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to look at them side by side. We've got Excel over on the left. We've got Sheets over here on the right. This is what a table looks like in Excel. I've already done some stuff to it. We'll start from scratch in just a second. And then this is what it looks like over in Sheets. Again, I've done some stuff to it. We'll start over with some raw data in just a moment. What I want to do is just talk briefly about what a table is, why we need them, why they're important, why Google took forever to release this feature in Sheets, what it looks like now stacked up against Excel. Like this is a comparison video at the heart. I'm just going to look at creating these, editing them, sorting and filtering in them. What else we're going to do? We're going to look at formulas, how you reference things inside of them, and just look at what the differences are and see at the end who comes out on top. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Sheets or Excel? You're probably right. Let's get into it here. Let's open up. Let's do this. Let's make Excel big. Let's go in here. Let's copy this stuff. Let's create a new sheet and we're going to paste the values. So what we have here is simply a few columns. We've got name, first name, last name, ID, email, job title, salary, and then over here we've got full name. We're actually going to add that later. So this is just a bunch of raw data. Now, how do we create a table? Back up just a second. Why do we want to create a table? Well, we want to so that we can reduce errors and we can clean things more efficiently. The worst thing about data is the fact that it's never clean. It never works right. You got to manipulate it and get it, most of the work is in cleaning it. So if we can get things into more usable formats, which is what tables are for, then we can reduce the number of errors. We can increase our efficiency with analyzing it, so forth and so on. So there's good reason for this. Now, what we have here is our data. To create a table, all you got to do is click Control-T, and it says, hey, you want to create a table? You have to make sure that your cursor, it can't be out here, because then it's going to say, where's the data for your table? Is it in this one cell? No. So you put your cursor over here, somewhere in the table. You press Control-T, it's going to guess, and it's usually pretty accurate. It detects that this is the data range for our table. Alternatively, you can go up here to the ribbon, click Insert, click Table, and that's how you get to it there. We do have headers. We have this header row, the ID, first, last name, email, and so forth. And then we're going to click OK. So the first thing we see is that this very simply creates some formatting for us. Also keeps the header row up here at the top. We don't have to lock a row at the top, which is pretty nice. But it makes bands of rows, some color coordinated rows for us. Up here in the top, we can easily change between all these different styles, different colors. We can go create our own style if we want to get really into the nitty gritty. Right here in Table Style Options, we can say, hey, the first column, I want it to be bold, I want it to be different, and then all of these table styles will take that into account. If we want the last column to be different, it does the same thing over there, and then all these table styles will work accordingly. That is how we do it in Excel. Let's go back to Sheets now. Let's make this bigger. Whoop. Let's make this bigger. Let's grab all of our data. Let's go over here, create a new sheet, paste the values, and here's our data in Sheets. So Control-T, no, not so much. Can't Control-T in Sheets because we're in Chrome, so it just opens up a new tab. But what we can do is come up here to Format, Convert to Table, and as long as we are within there, it's going to guess accurately again. It didn't even give us a dialog box. It just realized, hey, here's our data. Let's make it into a table. Alternatively, you can click inside of here and right click and get Convert to Table, but you have to have all of your data selected in order for that to be an option. So who wins? if I'm picking, I'm going to pick Excel. The fact that I can just Control T over here and press enter, it's just easier to create. Now they both do a fine job, but Excel comes out on top for me. All right, let's talk about sorting. So let's say we want to sort stuff, and this works for filtering also, which we'll go over next. Right here in the header row, we have the options to sort A to Z, ascending or descending, whichever way we want to do that. And we also have, let me come in here and color some of these cells like so. We're going to select, oh, I don't know, we'll make these blue, and then we'll put some job titles as red. And bear with me, we'll see what we did that for in just a second, because if we go to sort by color, hey, check that out. We can now sort by color. So that's pretty convenient. Now going over here to Google Sheets, let's do the same thing. Let's just select some of these guys. We'll turn them red, and we'll turn these guys blue. And now if we go to email, we can sort column by text color red. Okay, great. So they can both do that. Well, which one's better? Over here in Excel, if we go back into this sort by color and then go to custom sort, yeah, you know it. We got more options. We can do different levels. So this is pretty cool. We can actually add levels of sorting. We can sort by the email, by the font color, and then by the job title, by the font color. And incidentally, you can do other options here, cell values, cell color, font color. And then you can select on top or on bottom, and I'll put them both on top. So what we should see are the blue ones here and the red ones over here, sorted one and then the other. So first it's taking the blues, and that's taking priority. So then we're doing the reds. And because some of these overlapped, blue took the priority on these, and then it continued with the rest of the reds down below. Now, same thing's going to work out over here. The only difference is sort column, text color. Well, I've only got one option or the other. Let me show you what you can do in Sheets, because you cannot do all of the conditional formatting or conditional sorting that you could in Excel. We can get close though. So what we can do in Sheets, we have the option up here, if we select our whole range, to sort range, advanced range sorting options. And we're going to say it has a header row, so I can sort by the email, A to Z, and then I can sort by the job title, A to Z. Let's just be silly and do Z to A. But the difference is, though, I cannot do it by color. So I am just out options here. I don't have as many options in Sheets, because what I have to do, I just have to do it A to Z or Z to A. Those are the only options for sorting. So still good. We can still do advanced options, but we just don't have as many of those options. Okay, back to Excel. Now let's talk about filtering. Well, this is much the same. We can filter by color, and we can just filter everything except those colors, or we can undo that and we can filter by text, and we can use any of these things: equals certain things, begins with certain things, ends with, contains, does not contain. And we can also do custom filters, and we can use and or statements to string together filters. So this is pretty common fare, and as we'll see over here, we can do this in the same way. With Sheets, we do have all those same options. Filter by color. Let's just grab those and show you that works. I'll undo it. Filter column. We can then filter by condition. And we've got to go deeper into these levels by clicking a little bit more, but all the options are here. Contains, doesn't contain, begins with, or they say starts with rather than begins with, all the way down to custom formula. So we've got a tie here with the filtering. These are basically the same options in both programs. So once again, a little bit better job in Excel with sort, but about the same job in both programs with the filtering. Now, let's talk about formulas. This is like the meat and potatoes of why you would want to do this at all. Let's start in Excel. So as you know, when you hit the equal sign in either of these programs, you pop into a formula here and you can say, hey, I would like to sum these two cells. And then it gives you the total of those two cells, and the most basic version of using formulas. Well, the way that we can work in tables is by referencing the table and the columns. And I've named this, actually, I haven't named it anything. Let's go to table design. Instead of table 2, we'll write people, real original name. And then if we do equals, we now have the people option as a table. So this is going to be able to reference the table. And if I just click enter, well, you can see it gives me that whole table of information. But if we use bracket notation, now we can reference the columns. And as you can see, we've got this little shortcut menu here. If we start typing in first name, there is first name. And actually, let me remove all that for you so you can see it better. Let's zoom in a little bit more so you can see it even better, and get my face out of the way so you can just focus on the sweet functions and formulas. So we've got the table name of people, and then we've got the column name, first name, and we use these bracket notations to reference it. And if I just close it right there with a square bracket, there's all our first names. Okay, so if I go back in here, and let's just put the first and last names together. So I'm going to use the shorthand for concatenation by using that ampersand, and then I'm going to do people, last name, close that bracket, and check it out. I've got first name space last name. Pretty cool. One more thing before we go over to Sheets, because this is pretty much the same in Sheets. If we didn't want this to spill down, see how I just entered this once and it just goes all the way down? So I've got everything in here. I mean, that's sweet. Most of the time we want that to happen, but let's just say we didn't. If I just wanted, I don't know, this row. So now if we do people and then bracket, we can use the @ sign to specify just this row. Then we've got first name, we close those brackets, we do the ampersand concatenation just like we did before, and now we do people at last name, close those brackets. I keep wanting to do curly brackets, and check that out. Now we've just referenced that one row, and we can drag this down and do those 4 rows only. This is a level of specificity that you can get into with Excel that, as you'll see right now, you can't do in Sheets. So Sheets does a fine job because we can do this same thing. Let's rename our table up here in the top left, people, so we're using the same names, and we can say, hey, people, first name, and we'll do the ampersand concatenation, people, last name. Okay, works fine, but we only have that one option. So there's no spilling in it in Sheets. We've got to actually drag this all the way down, Control D, there we got everything. So now there's a formula in each one of these. So our accuracy is still increased because we've got things tied to the tables instead of specific cells, but it's not quite as efficient as our man over here in Excel being able to just spill all the way down by writing this one formula in this one cell. So winner here, yeah, it's obvious. Excel does a great job, a much better job. It's just more powerful. When they release this spilling formula feature, it's just better, okay? And hopefully Sheets will catch up to it in another 5 years when it adds that feature. But for right now, it is not as powerful as Excel. Now, what happens if we need to extend our table? All right, so I'm going to get rid of, actually, I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to delete this. So let's say we want a full name column right here. Full name. Well, Excel's smart. It knows that I want this over here. And let's just get rid of this last column so it's a regular looking column. It knows I want this to be part of the table because I typed it right next to it, okay? So now I can just go in here. I can say boom, boom. It can correct that formula for me because, as you'll see right here, now that I'm inside of the table, I actually don't need the name of the table in my formula. So it's using this at double bracket notation for first and last name as a modified version of what we did outside of the table to reference values in the table. Make sense? Now over here in Google Sheets, it's going to give me part of the way, but not all the way to the solution that I want. Oh, I've already created this column. So let me get rid of that column. Let me say full name, and there. It's going to create an extension of the data range for my table, just like we wanted it to. But then if I reference over here and if I toggle over like this, it's just going to give me B2, which is weird, and it'll autofill down, but it's just the cell references. They're not even using the table references. If I want to use the table references, it is actually the exact same. Let's see, what table are we in? People, and then we're in first name. It's the exact same as if I wrote it outside the table. So no difference here. It works fine, but it's, not quite as powerful as Excel. And then there again, we have to fill this down. Another case where it will not spill downward. So what do we think? Yeah, winner Excel still here. Now let's look at a couple other ways that we can add to the ranges in our sheets. In Excel, if we right-click a column, we can insert a column to the left, so it extends our sheet and just adds another column there. In Google Sheets, we can do that either the left or the right. So I could put one on the right. I mean, I guess that's a point for Google Sheets. It's not a very big point though. It's a little bit of diversity, but I don't think it does much for us. Same thing with rows, insert one up or down, whereas we can only insert up or above in Microsoft Excel. All right, for deleting, it's much the same. We can just select it and delete, or we can select the row in Excel and press Control minus sign, and it will delete it. So we have the added advantage of a shortcut. And over here, we've got the delete column, but we don't have a shortcut. That's the actual zoom out shortcut because we're in a web browser. So I think everything here is pretty much a wash, and it's a tie for both programs for changing the range of the data or of the table. All right, one more thing to look at. Let's look at a total row. So we can come over here in Excel and say we've got this salary row. I mean, you wouldn't want to total this. It doesn't make logical sense, but you could just say sum and sum it all up, and you get this big amount. It creates a new row in our table because it sees that that's something that we would probably want to include in the table, and we've got the total. That's one way to do it. Let's delete that. The easier way, if we're in our table, we click Table Design and we select Total Row. Boom. It's going to add a total row. And interestingly, check this out. It puts it on the last row. So let us delete this full name slot. It will give us a total row automatically right here. If I click Total Row, it'll add the row, it'll say total, and it'll subtotal everything up. It actually is fancy and subtotals rather than sums this column. Over here, we have no such luck with Google Sheets. We do have to manually add, and I'm just going to add a row at the bottom, type in total, and I can be fancy too. Subtotal 9, and table is people, salary. Boom, right? There we go. So, oh, and it even creates the little double line right there. That's pretty cool. So we can do the same thing in either of these. Excel may have an advantage here just because it's got that toggle switch on and off, but by and large, it's a pretty close advantage. Okay, so who wins? Yeah, Excel wins. I mean, no surprise there. We knew they were going to be the big dog. They've always been the big dog in town. It's just more powerful still, everything you can do in Excel. Now, I am very excited for Sheets to finally have tables. I mean, this is great. I personally use Sheets more than I use Excel. Is that true? It's close to true. I use them both a lot. I like Excel more because it's powerful, but I like Sheets more because I am just involved in it with my work and some of my personal projects a little bit more. So I'm overjoyed that we finally have tables. Let me show you what we used to have to do. So we used to have data like this over here, and we'd have to come up to format and say alternating colors, click a color, and boom. And if you know anything, you know that all that is formatting. That's not an actual table. So there's no advantage with formulas and functions or anything. It's merely to mimic what a table looks like. But that was as good as we could do. So I'm very pleased to actually have this as an option. What do you think? Is this a game changer? Is this a blah? Have you stopped caring about it? Or do you actually think that this is a really great thing that Google could continue to improve on? Check out this video next, and I hope you have a fantastic day. If you haven't already, I don't know why you've taken so long. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out and means a lot to me. You're awesome. Thanks, and goodbye.